is you must be knowing that we call the teacher as a facilitator, but not a teacher. What is the meaning of facilitator? Who facilitates, who can only guide the students. So teaching is nothing but a harmonious relationship, a good relationship between the three student, teacher, and the subject. Then next one is, if we are facilitator, then how to facilitate the learning? How we can facilitate the learning? It can be by any method. We can do. It can be done by discussion method. It can be done by experiment method. It can be by active participation, or by asking questions, reading, then encouraging. So many methods are there to facilitate the learning. So by this knowledge of or understanding of teaching and learning, let us have a journey towards own skills of how to groom our own skills of teaching, because we have to groom it up. जैसे लेडीज लोग होते हैं ना, बीच बीच में 6 months में या मंथली यूज टू गो टू पार्लर जस्ट टू ग्रूम देम अप, so that their facial content will increase, or there will little bit cleanliness will be there. Mostly they polish themselves. So similarly in the teaching learning process also, we have to groom our skills of the teaching. Next slide please ma'am. Next slide. So you will be surprised to know that we have already 103 teaching skills which has been identified as necessary skills for an effective teacher. But out of that 103 skills, it is difficult to master over 103 skills. So 20 skills have been tested by the Stanford University, which can be easily mastered through micro teaching. So at least we need to master these 20 skills. So out of these 20 skills, I have 10 skills which we'll discuss a little bit. Then we will go to the micro teaching one. So next slide, madam. The first skill, as you can, the 10 skills which are there, they are the planning, set induction, presentation, questioning, encouraging the students, exemplification, communication, methodology, judging the problems, and or summing up. So these are the 10 basic skills which a teacher need to be groom up. So among them, the previous slide, ma'am, the first previous one, ma'am. Next one, planning, which is the next one. Next, thank you, ma'am. So the first thing is planning. So whenever there is some occasion in our house, or we are going to celebrate something, at that time always we used to plan. We just take a pen and paper, then we start planning. First we have to do this, first we have to arrange the house, we have to invite the guest, we have to do such type of dishes we have to prepare. So in our daily life always we need a planning. While going to school also, or university also, from the morning till the end we have a planning. So similarly, when we are preparing any class, going to class, or preparing any lesson plan, we have to plan the things. And planning, depending on your planning, your class will be like that. So what are the contents should be there in the planning? First one is, what is my objective of teaching the chapter? And what are the contents present over here? So objective versus contents, it should match. What is the content, and accordingly what is my objective? And we must take, for a 40 minutes class we need 200 minutes for planning. So for each step we need 5 minutes of planning. So again, when we are going to planning, we have to gather different sources from where the information will be, we will collect, because nowadays lots of sources are there from where we can gather information. And it is not like that we know everything. Whatever topic we are teaching, it is not like that we know everything, updated about everything. So for that, we have to collect from different sources. After collecting from different sources the content, we have to outline them. Which are the main points? what are the things I should tell to the student, because depending upon the level of the students, I have to teach the students. So there must be an outline that should be in sequence. So from A to Z, everything we have to plan it. After planning it or after doing the outlines, next one is the problematic part. That is possible bottlenecks. If I am going to deliver the chapter in this way, what may be the problem? Can the students able to understand this one? Are they able to, they know whatever I am going to teach? So what will be the problems while teaching the lesson? Then next one is your expected questions. What the students may, because we don't know what is going in the students' mind. They may, some of the students have high IQ level, so they can ask any type of question. Some of them are naughty, they will ask the questions which I have not expected also. So we must be prepared for what are the different types of questions will be there. Then the next important part is time budget versus content. So time budget versus content means whenever we are delivering a chapter, if our time limit is 40 minutes, then we have to stick to it. Because if you are going to take more time than that, then it will be a problem for the students also. They cannot, after the period is over, they are not in a mind to accept whatever we are going to deliver them. So better to avoid taking long time classes beyond the class time. So always we will plan the things in such a way that it will be according to the time. Then another one is your methodology. That is, in which method we are going to teach the students. Whether the methodology is your experimental method or activity method or lecture method, demonstration, different methods are there. I hope all of you know that one. Then finally, after completing all this, after doing all the activities, is my objective fulfilled? Have I achieved my objective? Because whenever we are doing any type of work, we have an objective. Similarly, when we are going to a class, we should have an objective, that my objective is today I will teach them this so that they will able to understand the thing. So objective must be achieved, we should plan in that way. And finally, the evaluation of success through feedback. Because for anything when we are doing, the critics are the best persons who can judge us. The students are the best persons. So every time when we are doing something, we should get a feedback. Even in the session, in the previous sessions, this society has given feedback form. So because feedback form, it enhances or improves our whatever the skill is there. So feedback is always necessary. So these are the things which comes under the planning. So next one is your set induction. Ma'am, next slide, please. Can I have set induction? Set induction means how to start a lesson. Whenever, just think that जब हमारे घर में कोई मेहमान आ जाते हैं, whenever some guest is coming, we cannot say that आइए बैठिए. What we say, first we give them a smile, just we greet them, namaste or something else. Then we call them and tell them to have a seat. Similarly, when we are entering the class, it is not like that we'll go and start the chapter. So today we are going to read about the chapter photosynthesis. It is not like that. It should not be like that. So the process of introduction or set induction is very important. We should have in mind how should I start the lesson so that the students will able to receive whatever I am going. They are ready to learn, and for that we need to motivate them. Motivation, then we will take them mostly from the small kids. It is the facts from known to unknown. For example, let us suppose that I want to teach them a noun in English grammar. I want to teach them noun. In that case, first what I will do, I will ask the name of the students, or I will ask them where from you belongs to, from which city you belongs to, where your grandfathers or grandparents used to say. So they will just like that tell different names. From the names only, I will say that Every object has a particular name which can be visualized. So the things which have a specific name, they are known as noun. So it is from known facts to unknown. Then I will tell them the definition of the noun. That is from a easy concept to a difficult concept. But it is just opposite in case of higher classes. From lower classes, it is your inductive, and from higher classes, it is your deductive method. So similarly, when I'm introducing the lesson, I should keep a rapport with the students. If only I will be delivering the lesson in the form of a lecture, then it will not be so much, they will feel bored and they will start doing some other things. For that, I have, hello, someone is saying
Ma'am,
something?
no, ma'am. Please continue.
Okay, so we should maintain a rapport with the students, that just an interactive session. In between, we can ask some questions to them, or we can introduce the lesson in the form of a story, or we can do some experimentation. If it is a science subject, it is better to do some experiment. Then from that, we will tell the thing what we want to deliver. And the final one, which is given, introduction can be through localization. That is, localization means the local things which are available inside the classroom. If I am going to say something about living and non-living things, in that case, I will tell the students that if I'm going to hit the table, will it hit you? So they will say no. If you are going to hit your friend, will he hit you? Then they will say yes. So why it is the difference? Why the table is not hitting you, but your friend is hitting you? So in that case, from that, and similarly, different things will be there. Fan. So living and non-living, I can introduce the thing depending upon the availability of the resources nearby, because always there will be availability of resources. We cannot say that. If it is not available also, we can use the things which are present nearby. So by this, we can introduce the chapter which is known as your set induction method, or the skill of introduction. The next slide, ma'am. The next one is your presentation, and which is very important. Whenever we are going to somewhere a present a lesson, or we are going to some parties, at that time, or we just wear a very good dress, or we are going to meet some important person, we just look after before going to that, whether I am well dressed or not, whether I am presentable or not. So similarly, presentation matters a lot. And if the presentation part is not good, but other things are perfect, then it has no value of teaching the students or making them understand. So in this case, in when we are doing any type of presentation, first the concept should be clear, because unless our concepts are clear, how we can explain the students? So it is very important that we have to clear our concepts. Then when we are presenting the things, it should be in a sequential organization. That means one after another. We cannot say starting from one point, then we will tell something else. Everything will be just jumbled on. It cannot be like that. If it is a sequential order, then their students can correlate the things. Otherwise, it will be difficult for them, because the chapter is new for the student. It may not be new for us. We may be teaching it for several years, but the students whom we are teaching, they are, for them the concept is new. So we have to put it in an organized manner. Then next one is your exemplification. Because just going, if I will say the word photosynthesis, nothing will enter into the mind of the students of class 2 or 3. So in that case, I will give some examples to them, so that they can understand. If the plants, we are not feeding the plants, then how the plants are feeding themselves, how the where from the plants are getting the food. So like this, by giving different types of examples, I can make them understand the concept which I am going to deliver them. Then the next one is linkage, and it is same to the sequential organization. That is, when we are doing some presentation, there might be some linking words. Otherwise, it will be difficult. The next is that to make them active participation, students' participation must be there. If I am going to say some story to them, let make the students one of the characters. Let us suppose in a story, 3 to 4 characters are there. So each student I will call 3 students and they will participate. Or if it is something which is based on activities, that is mostly mathematics one, then we can conduct some activities. Then depending upon the knowledge and understanding of the student, this one is very important. We should consider, or we should bring the level, we should teach the students on their level, not as per our knowledge. The main important thing for us are the students. So we have to consider the level of knowledge of the student. Accordingly, we have to deliver the lessons, and we have to find that whether they are able to understand. We have to use simple languages for them. We should have a fluency over it so that they will able to understand the things. And the last one, which is I have written, it is logical positivism. That means when we are going to teach some chapters related to our science, there must be some logic behind it. ऐसे ही हम लोग जाकर क्लास में we cannot say that the planets are moving around the sun. All of you know the sun has, it is a star, it has no light. So we have to clear the things that how they are moving, what is the logic, why there is day and night, what is the logic, why there is a change in season. So there must be a logical positivism, because of which the students can understand the things. They will not believe in whatever they are seeing unless and until some logic is explained to them. And when we are explaining something with logic, then the students will accept it and they will remember the things for a longer period. After the presentation, next part is your our questioning, which is also related to your feedback one. Next slide, please, ma'am. So next one is questioning, which is just related to the feedback which I have discussed. So when we are asking the questions, it should float the question over the heads of all the students. That means all the students should participate. We cannot ask the questions which will be not understood by the slow learners. We have to make the question in such a manner that each and every student will able to participate in it. If they are not able to tell, then let us give some time to think over that. Then only, if we cannot say that मैं बोल रही हूँ, you just after my completion of question you answer, and we cannot give preference to only one student who will able to answer. So the students which are slow learner, which are average, let them just give them time to think over it. If still they are not able to tell the things, give the options, that is the hints. Either you can say the first letter is B, first letter is C, it contains 2 letters, like that. Give some hints, show some gestures, movements, so that they will able to answer the question. We should always encourage them so that they will answer, because when the students used to answer, they gain a confidence within them and they feel happy. And again, if it is wrong, then correct the answer, but be polite to the students. If you will start just if they are answering not perfectly, हम लोग चिल्लाना शुरू कर देंगे. You are such a dumb student. You are such a bad student. You don't know anything. The simple things you don't know. अगर हम ऐसे करना we will start doing, then believe me, the next class, the student may not attend your class, or he is not going to receive the things. Just I'm going to share, because it is very important. Share a story which has occurred in my previous school. One of the maths teacher, she got angry with his student because he was doing some naughty. So every class, that teacher used to ask him question, and the student knowingly he was not answering, and that teacher every day she used to punish the student, and the student, she sent the student to the outside and the student will be standing outside. The student got fed up, and that subject was maths. And the student got fed up to such an extent that you will not believe that after class 10th, he left mathematics subject. He developed such a hatred to that subject that he left mathematics. Even if he was doing well, but because of this rudeness of that teacher, the student developed a hatredness for such a subject. So politeness, sympathetic, all these things are very important in our life to make the student so that the students will be happy, and we will also feel happy. If for somebody is hating some subject because of me, it is a just curse for me as a teacher. So the next one is your exemplification. Exemplification means, next slide please ma'am. Next one is encouraging the students to question. So it is also same thing, that most of the time what will happen, we used to ask the question, but the students they are not, but we should give the students an that is so that they can participate. So for that, we can use the enquiry approach. For example, let us suppose that I will tell the process of photosynthesis in class 8 and 9. I will teaching them. Then I will say that all of you have seen cactus plant. Cactus plant, they don't have the leaves. So how the photosynthesis is taking place? So like this, I will give some hints to them so that they will start thinking over it. If we have read that photosynthesis takes place in the leaves, but the cactus plants, they don't have leaves. Again, we have read that chlorophyll is responsible for photosynthesis. Some flowers leaves are there which are colorful. So how photosynthesis is taking place? So by this we can develop an inquiry approach among the students, and they will think over it and they will ask different questions. Then controversies means we just give a topic to them, for and against. They will be saying it. If this will happen, if sun will be there, then what will be what all will happen? If let us suppose for few days sun will not be there, then what? So any of the topic. If there is democracy, what is the side effects? If there will be, what are the positive? So for and against, we'll tell them to think over it. Similarly, we can give some brainstorming problem. Then the questions, if you'll apply one method, that is, um, we will give a topic. Let us suppose in SST, you are teaching some chapter. In that chapter, you just tell from one paragraph. You tell students to make questions. You will find that if in your class 40 students are there, then at least 40 different questions you will be getting, which was not possible when we are alone framing the questions. So if the students are going to do such things, they will be reading the chapter, they will be understanding the concept, then they will be prepare the questions. So when such things are there, we should appreciate the questions if someone is having some good questions. So this is how we can encourage the students to frame questions, because if they are going to frame questions means they have understood the concept clearly. Unless nowadays the students, they are not able to touch the chapter if you are not going to give them homework or you are not going to take any test. Because आजकल के जो बच्चे हैं वो पूरा shortcut method, sir teacher has taught us this one, he has given the notes, let us go through the notes, exam appear करो काम खत्म. So when we will tell them to make questions, at least they will go through the chapter. Then the next one is exemplification. So as we have discussed earlier, next exemplification, it should be subject oriented, environment oriented, problem solving, relevance to the topic, and it should have valid examples. So whenever we are doing such thing, examples, at that time we should consider all these things. Then the next one is your communication. So next slide, ma'am. Next slide. Communication, which is a very important thing, because whether you are in the field of teaching job, whether you are a IT profession, whether you are in journalism or any field. Previous slide, ma'am, please. So the communication which is there, with the communication skill में अगर आप master कर गए, then you can conquer the world. अगर बातचीत करना आपको आ गया, how to deliver the things, then everything is possible in your case. And for that, the certain things we have to keep in mind. The first one is the pitch of the voice. Let us suppose that I will enter the class and I will start saying, बच्चों कैसे हो तुम लोग, are you okay? So if I'm going to say like that, then the students are not going to accept that one. So pitch of the voice should be little bit low. Then it should be have pauses. बीच बीच में थोड़ा रुक कर we should tell. अदरवाइज अगर ट्रेन की तरह हम लोग चलते जाएंगे, बच्चे के दिमाग में आधा घुसेगा, आधा नहीं घुसेगा. Then the speed which is related to your pause only, the speed should be limited. Then linkages, then reference to context, that means it should be related to the context. अगर हम लोग जाकर बच्चों को एक चैप्टर पढ़ा रहे हैं, दूसरे चैप्टर के बारे में बोलेंगे, so everything will be jumbled up in their mind. Then communication to the level of students. अगर हम लोग when we are going to class 1 or 2 students of teaching class 1 or 2, and we will be using hi-fi English so that they will not able to understand that. So our objective will be not be fulfilled. So communication जो है depending upon the level of the student, and communication it should not be like which the students will feel bored. So in that case, we have to use some non-verbal communication, like different gestures, movement of eyes, movement of hands, and sometimes what you do, you can use humor in the class. जानबूझकर अगर हम लोग गिर जाएंगे, then what will happen? The students will start laughing. Then what happens? The brain cells become active. They can absorb the things what you are going to deliver in a very good manner. And the final thing which is required is your pronunciation. So pronunciation, if it is correct, then the students will, because the students always copy their teachers. Even if the parents tell them a thing 100 times, they will not listen. But if the teacher is going to say something, they will pronounce in that way. So pronunciation is a very important part in your communication. Then the next one is methodology. So methodology, all of you are aware of that. The different methods are there: lecture, demonstration, discovery, laboratory, practical, computers. So inquiries, problem solving, all these are there. So next one, we will go to judging the students' problem. Next slide, please, ma'am. So judging the students' problems, because whatever method you apply, whatever simple language you use, whatever audio video you use, some of the students will be there who will not get your point, who cannot understand the things. So in that case, we have to find the level of the students, because in a class, the students are of various type. They may be talented, normal, slow learners, disturbed students. So various type of students are there having various individual differences. So in that case, we have to tackle the problem of the students. And finally, the 10th skill is your end or summing up. That means how to end the chapter. So when we are ending the chapter, we must recap whatever we have taught to the students. Because when we are going to recap them, they will remember the things for a longer period. And by that, by giving certain questions, we evaluate them. So this is the end or summing up. Then let us go to the micro teaching part which is there. So almost all the skills we have discussed, but let me just sum up what is micro teaching. Next slide, please, ma'am. So micro teaching, it is, as the name is there, it is not at all teaching method. It is the improvement of skills, preferably by just by improving our own skills. That is mostly what happens in case of micro teaching, the self practice and self criticism. And in this case, what happens before the trainee, previous slide, ma'am. So micro teaching in this case, as the word is given, micro teaching, micro means small. So three things are reduced over here. First of all, this group of students, small group of students, that is whatever is the total number. If it is your 40, then 1/4, 10 students will be taking. Then the time, it is of 40 minutes. Mostly it will be taken as 5 minutes. And then the content will also be reduced like that. So three things: the content is being reduced, the time is being reduced, and the number of students are reduced. That's why it is known as micro teaching, and it is a scaled down teaching which encounters in class size and time. And micro teaching is mostly, this technique is now extensively used in Australia, India, Norway, England, and USA. And you will not believe that in some of the countries they have micro teaching clinics. And these micro teaching clinics, there the doctors used to come over there, the professionals used to come over there, the teachers used to come over there, where the skills are being taught in which they are deficient of. So nowadays, micro teaching clinics in the foreign countries, they are running more than the clinical clinics or the doctor's clinic. And the micro teaching concept was given by Ellen Dwight in the year 1963. Dr. Ellen Dwight and his group has given the concept of micro teaching. And then what are the different steps which we find in micro teaching? Next one, please. Next, ma'am. Next one. So the characteristic is the duration of teaching as well as the number of students are led. The content is divided into smaller units. Previous one, ma'am. Then only one teaching skill is considered. Then immediate feedback, and it is just a cycle, and it puts the teacher under the microscope. And finally, what happened? The problem of discipline can also be controlled, because when someone is entering a class of 40 students, the discipline part is very much important. So when we are going to practice it a small group of students, it will be easier for us. Next slide, ma'am. So these are the skills which we have already discussed, that is introduction skills, skill of probing questions, skill of explanation, skill of stimulus variation, blackboard writing, and achieving the closure. So as I have said that when we are introducing a skill, then we should maintain a rapport with the learners. It should be linked with the past experience. Then there should be a linkage between the introduction and main points, and use of appropriate devices, whether I will start the chapter with questions, with examples, with stories. So all these things we have to consider while introducing the chapter. The next one. Next slide. Then skill of probing questions, that is, as I have said you, by asking questions, the teachers makes the people more thoughtful, because our aim is to make the students understand the things. So in that case, skill of questioning matters a lot. Then the next one is skill of explanation, which is just similar to the skill of presentation which I have discussed. And this one is important, skill of stimulus variation. When we will go to the class, it is not like that we will be standing in a single position and we will, previous slide, ma'am, please. We will be standing in a position and will be delivering the lesson. So in that case, to make the students active, teachers will move throughout the class. The different non-verbal positions, actions should be done. There must be change in voice, change in interaction patterns, and students' physical participation should be taken into consideration, so that the student will actively listen to you and they will receive the things. Next one. Next slide, please. Then the skill of blackboard writing. So when some of the students, they may not receive the things as we are going on saying. So in that case, the skill of blackboard writing is very important because they will remember the things by writing only. So when we are writing in the blackboard, it should be there must be legibility. That means the writing should be in a proper manner with a proper sequence, size of the letter, alignment of the letter, correctness of the spelling, position of the teacher. Everything matters because the students need to copy it down. If the teacher will be standing in front of the blackboard, then it will be difficult for them to note it down. So everything should be taken into consideration when we are doing the skill of blackboard writing. Then the next slide, please. Then the next one is your skill of achieving closure. That means summing up, which I have already discussed. So when we are summing up, we should give them, as I said, recapitulation should be there. Then we should give them assignment. So at least they will be thinking about whatever is taught. Then opportunity should be provided by the teacher for applying the knowledge. We should make them understand in such a way that they will apply the knowledge in their future in daily life. Next one, please. Then these are the steps which is there. Practice of teaching skill, feedback, replanning, reteaching, refeedback, and repetition of the micro teaching cycle. Next slide, please, ma'am. So when we are doing the micro teaching, first of all, the teacher will be, trainee will be there, a few peer friends, they will be sitting, and expert will be sitting at the back. Along with that, a camera will be there. So in this case, the student will be given a chapter, content for teaching. They will be given 6 minutes. After 6 minutes, again, the friends or the students who are acting as students and the teachers, they will give the feedback. Depending upon the feedback, the replanning is done for 12 minutes because it is very much important. We should not repeat, the students should not repeat the same mistake as it is done earlier. Then again reteaching and re-feedback. So total it is your 36 minutes of a class which is taken by which is done during the process of micro teaching. The next slide, ma'am. This is the micro teaching slide cycle, which I have already said you. The next one. This is the classroom setting normally which is being done. Next slide, ma'am. So what are the advantages? Advantages is that it sharpen and develop the specific teaching skills and eliminate the errors. When we are doing, when we are on a single skill, when it is being done micro teaching, it sharpens the specific skill, whether it is a skill of explanation, whether it is a skill of teaching or exemplification, any skill, it also it develops the person. It enables the understanding of behaviors important in a classroom teaching because no one, it is not like that, will enter the class and will start the lesson. Each and everyone cannot teach. Teaching is not meant for everyone. Only specific gifted persons are there who can explain the things properly. And those gifted persons must be having such skills which by which they can be effective teachers. The next one is when we are doing the micro teaching, it is increasing the confidence of the learner teacher, and it is a vehicle of continuous training for both beginners and for senior teachers. And finally, it provides an expert supervision and constructive feedback. So if micro teaching will be done, mostly you will find that most of the schools, even NCRT, every year they are conducting the workshops on different topic, even different subject. No matter whatever experience the teacher is having, they have to attend the workshop. So we have to polish ourselves. So my dear friends who are teachers, polish every day yourself, learn something every day so that you can be an example. You will create an impression on the life of the students. So thank you for listening me. Hope you have enjoyed the session. Thank you all of you.
Yeah, thank you so much, ma'am, for the nice presentation. Now, I would like to invite all the participants to ask your query, your question regarding the presentation. So you can text on chat box, and you can also ask your after unmute your microphone.
Good afternoon. Uh,
Good afternoon, ma'am.
I have a question. As you mentioned that in the classroom, all students they don't have same IQ. Okay,
Yeah,
that is a big word IQ, and also one word is there, MI, multiple intelligence.
very good.
So,
Yes, ma'am.
according to you, what is the best way, any tool, how we can frame the questionnaire so we can understand which child learns in which way better, auditory learner, visual learner, or kinesthetic learner? How we can understand by observation and experience is okay, but is there any method that before beginning of a session we can give them something that then we can take those things from them, and we can find out which child can learn better in which style of learning?
Okay, madam.
Because
Actually,
I'm trying to make my questionnaire, but I was searching someone who can guide me or say me if they have done it at all.
Actually, ma'am, whenever we are doing any B.Ed classes at that time, a blueprint is available. So, in that blueprint, first we have to prepare a question or a blueprint. Then we have to frame the questions depending upon. We know our class students. We know when framing the questions before that. We know the students because we have a long interaction of the students. How many students are intelligent, how many are able to accept the thing in visual mode, some of them are able to accept the things by experimental thing. So in that case we have to make a blueprint of the questions. We have to divide the questions depending upon the marks. Out of that, mostly what it is done that 30% of the 30 mostly 40% of the questions, it is based on the average learner. When we are doing at that time, you frame some questions in the form of writing out of, let us suppose you are doing 5 to 6 questions for average learners. So in out of that, two questions you just write make the questions depending upon the thinking one. Two questions you just give some diagrams, and so that the visual learners can do. And another two questions you just give which is just little bit essay type, or it is just so that the students who are good in writing, they can do that. So what will happen, it is not, we cannot expect that all the students will get good marks, but it is expected that at least all the student will get a average marks, because questions cannot be framed that depend at separate questions cannot be framed. We have to frame a simple a question with average 40%, then for slow learners it is 30%, and another 20% that is for the IQ students who have very high IQ level. Because our main motive is that whether the students have understood the concept or not,
Uh,
and
um,
depending on that we have to frame the questions. We can frame diagrammatic question. Okay, ma'am.
Ma'am, actually, my question was a little bit different. Suppose a new batch of session. You don't know anything about the students.
Okay,
How will
we are
you, yeah, and how in the
okay.
beginning of the session you will find out in which style of learning each child has? Do you
uh,
conduct any diagnostic test to understand? Suppose 40 students or 30 students have come to your class, you don't know anything about them. They are
okay,
new
okay,
to your
got it.
school. Uh,
Okay, okay, okay. So in that case, ma'am, first of all, it depends upon which class you are going to teach. If it is small kids, may I know for which class you are asking, ma'am? Is it for junior class or any senior sections?
Suppose I'm talking about 6 to 8. Suppose grade 7,
Okay.
grade 8. How will you identify
Okay,
the
grade
style?
6. initially when we are entering the class, it is not easy to find out that the different varieties of students. But as per our experience, we know that in a class, there will be slow learners, there will be average, and there will be highly intelligent students. So when we are entering the class, depending upon the subject, first of all, the best method is we should do certain activities before after entering the class. We should do, when we are going to teach a lesson from English, we can dramatize, means mostly the teacher should be a very good actor. So when I am introducing a chapter and I am new to the school, initially the students don't accept some new teacher. So in that case, we have to motivate them. If you are teaching something related to English or Hindi, you can प्रेजेंट द लेसन इन द फॉर्म ऑफ ड्रामाटाइज, जैसे हम लोग बोलते हैं लाइक मोनो एक्टिंग, वी कैन डू दैट वन. And if it is a chapter of science, let us first do a diagram related to this, because if you are going to draw a nice diagram, the student automatically, some of them will get motivated to it. If it is mathematics, then we can take certain activities like jigsaw puzzle, we can take the geometry box which are there. So like that, depending upon the subject, we will do. Because initially when we are entering the class and we you are not known to them, so जैसे हम लोग बोलते हैं ना, when the speakers, when they just speak in front of a large gathering, large in that case, they don't know what are the different varieties. So introduction के लिए we can some good methods depending upon the subject which you are teaching. Am I clear, ma'am? Hello?
Yes, ma'am. It's
Okay.
clear. Thank you.
Okay. Then next one, someone has asked, how can we assist slower learners for better understanding? So it is from Ranjita ma'am. So Ranjita ma'am, for slow learners, we have to be give more time to them, because in the class it is very difficult to guide the slow learners, because when you will be teaching only slow learners, or you will be going in a small pace, very slow pace, the other students may get bored. So for slow learners, what we have to do, after the completion of the chapter, or whenever we are free in the school, or the students are free, at that time we have to bring them, or in the classroom in the recess period also, or in the games period, we have to spend some time with them, and then we have to find out that which method is acceptable by them, whether by drawing they will able to understand, or by any audio visual technique, or by doing activities. So for slow learners, we have to choose the method depending upon the acceptance capacity of that slow learner, and we have to give some extra effort and extra time for them, because when they are slow, we have to be active. So this is how the slow learners can be improved. And the best example of the movie, that is one movie was there, I think, with Amir Khan. I'm forgetting the name. If you can assist me. Mm,
I think 3 idiots, ma'am.
okay. Hello.
तारे जमीन पर
Not audible. Okay.
तारे
I
जमीन
think,
3 idiot.
okay. Yes. Thank you, Madam Tari Zami pe. So Ranjita ma'am, I hope you have understood that what is the slow learners. Okay, naughty students. So naughty students, it is a very difficult. Agar aap naughty students, if you are going to praise them, just ask some questions which they can answer, easy questions. In that case, and you are going to appreciate them in front of every all in front of the class, you will find that the next day the naughty students are not going to disturb you. Second thing is that give the naughty students some responsibility. Like when you are teaching, you just tell the naughty student, the naughty is actually a negative word we should not use for students. The students which are not are concentrating, you just tell them, क्लास में कौन कौन नहीं लिख रहा है, व्हेन आई एम राइटिंग इन द ब्लैक बोर्ड, यू जस्ट योर response, you just take the responsibility, you will tell me the name. When the teacher is not there, who are disturbing, जो जो जिस प्रकार का नॉटीनेस करता है, हम वही नॉटीनेस के बेस पे उनको रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी दे देंगे। then the student will feel proud, क्योंकि when the naughty student is there, every teacher used to scold them, friends used to make fun of them. When they are given a responsibility, they feel proud and they can do the responsibility very well. When the naughty student is when students who are not good in studies, they mostly create disturb in the class. You just give the responsibility of conducting any co-curricular activities. Whenever the functions are there, you just give them responsibility. वो आपके दीवाने हो जाएंगे. It is my assurance to you, ma'am. Okay. हाँ, विश्वजीत sir, motivation is the best medicine. It is always motivation is the best medicine. So any more questions?
I'm what to say. Hello.
Hello.
I have what to say. I heard your this thing, and it was very nice presentation.
Thank you,
But
ma'am.
I was actually wanting you to what to say stress on micro teaching skills. You have
Yeah,
given
yeah.
us a presentation on what to teach, how to teach, why to teach. That is really helpful to all the teachers. But how micro teaching skills will develop confidence in the teacher and how it will be
Is it over, madam? Question. Okay.
no, actually I wanted to tell about that only about micro teaching skills. You have not highlighted more on this topic, what I feel.
I agree with that, ma'am. Actually, the teaching skills which I have highlighted, that is included in the micro teaching skills. Only the difference is that in micro teaching skill, we just give importance to a single skill. It may be your the skill of introduction, it may be the skill of stimulus variation, it may be the skill of presentation. So as I have said, in micro teaching, the important thing is that we give stress to a single skill. A person or a trainee is polished on a single skill. Let us suppose a trainee is there. First, the skill of introduction will be polished. First, how to introduce a chapter. The trainee will be given 6 minutes, then there will be feedback, then replanning. Then again the training will be doing the next part, that is skill of presentation. So
Yes,
these
that's right,
things.
madam. That's right what you
Okay,
say.
okay.
But how the skill will be adopted in for the pre-service teacher or teacher training technique? Like we have to record the micro teaching skill. The colleagues will be recording the skill. It is like an
Yes,
intensive.
yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
So we are viewing their teaching, and after we view their teaching, we ask them to what to say. Practice what
Replan
they are
that
doing.
one. Replan
Yeah,
that one.
replan
Yes,
that.
video recording is being done, then
Mm.
it has been replanned.
Yeah.
Okay, okay.
That's
Thank
what
you,
I.
madam, for your suggestion.
No, it's
Thank you,
okay.
ma'am.
Yes, welcome.
Thank you so much, Sagarika ma'am. Now, I would like to invite Dr. Chitra Rathore ma'am, who is head of BBA department from Assistance both PG College, Jaipur, Rajasthan, and her presentation topic is Corona Kaal and challenge in higher education.
Yeah,
So, over to Dr. Chitra ma'am now.
thank you, Shikha. Good afternoon to everyone. As you all know that the pandemic of COVID-19 has very badly stricken the and the whole globe is suffering from
I'm so sorry to disturb you, ma'am. Please try
yeah.
to speak clearly. Actually, your voice is very fluctuating. So, I think please put your microphone in front of your face.
Okay, I will do that. Now is it okay, ma'am? Hello?
Yes, please continue, ma'am.
Yeah. Okay. So as the COVID-19 pandemic has stricken very badly the whole, the socio-economic activities have been paused, and you never know how long it is going to persist. The education has been also adversely affected by this pandemic. And today I am going to address the challenges in higher ed. And for this one, I have got this one. I would like to share the slide. Yes.
Sure, ma'am. Please continue, ma'am.
Yeah. So the title of my PPT is Corona Kaal and Challenges in Higher Education. Now, I'd like to present you the statistics of college education. So, by college education, we understand the students who have passed 11th or 12th are going for further studies. They are known as the students of higher education, or we can say they are the college. So, the total number in college, total number of colleges in India, it is approximately 399 as per a survey. And specifically in Rajasthan, the number of government colleges is 278 and private colleges is 1659. In this one, I'm specifically going to focus on Rajasthan's higher education, that how an effective academic leadership could save many colleges from being shut down. Now, the student statistics in Rajasthan. It is we have seen the number of colleges all over India and in Rajasthan also. Now the student statistics it goes as the students enrolled for 12th CBSE board all over India. It is 12 lakhs approximately, and the students enrolled for 12th Rajasthan Board of Secondary Education, that is RBSC. It is 8,65,895. Now, with this data, we are going to find out how much allotment a college is going to get. Now, the number of students is 12 lakh, and the number of, we can say, the colleges is 40,000 approximately. So, number of students at all India level, each college is going to get is 30 number of. Now, for the students per college at state level, specifically Rajasthan, it is 86,508, 8,65,895, and the number of colleges is 1,937. So the total number of students we are getting is 447 approximately. So the total number of college students per college in Rajasthan will be 447 plus 30. That is making 470 students per college. So we may think, we may consider that how drastic it is that each college will be having a approximation of 470, and we don't know whether this 470 figure will be coming as a whole, or the students they may drop out, the students they may get fail, or they don't want to pursue their studies. Then what will be the number the colleges will be getting in their share? So this is a big danger to the higher education in not only in Rajasthan but at all India level. How come the next academic session is going to be pursued in the absence of strength or in the absence of the number? Now I'm taking the academic challenges. As we all know that Charles Darwin has said that survival of the fittest, and it is the same time. Now here comes the importance of leadership role in colleges and universities during the spread of COVID-19. Only the best academicians and the colleges will be able to survive in coming future, and an effective and innovative academic leadership would only make the respective colleges to put their flags high. Now the challenges one by one will be taking them. So the first and the foremost challenge in front of the colleges is how to conduct the University of Rajasthan examinations successfully and safely, competing with COVID-19. This is a big question because we all know, as whoever is belonging to higher education, who is lecturer by profession, he must be known that data is provided by the university of private students as well as regular students to each and every college, whether that is a government college or a private college. And that particular college has to conduct the examination. Now the thing is that there are so many colleges which don't have the proper infrastructure. In absence of proper infrastructure, that how come we are going to accommodate those students and will be able to successfully successful conduction of University of Rajasthan examination, and that to be at that time when it is spreading very curiously. So for this one, the solution is that the university may plan out the timetable of the exams by taking the smaller exams, or we can say the exams which have less strength first, and then accordingly the strength may be. Now the second thing is that on the footmarks of technical institutions, the students of autonomous bodies and semester systems may be promoted to higher classes on the base of their past semester performance. So, as we all know, that AICT has done this thing, and the students, it has been decided that the students will be promoted to the higher classes on the behalf of their internal assessments and the practicals, or the begins of the viva which have been taken, or the assessment which have been done online. So this may be also an option for conduction of University of Rajasthan examination. Then is alternative strategy for students residing in containment zones and who are found infected during summer camping. Now the thing is that the students will be coming to their respective centers for giving their examination. So when they will be coming, if someone is found corona positive, or his or her temperature is high, then what strategy for that student the university is going to adopt? That has to be clear, whether that student will be confined to a separate place and he will be allowed to give the examination, or later on with the supplementary examination he will be allowed to give that paper. So that has to be made clear by the University of Rajasthan. What kind of action in that case has to be taken by the particular or the individual institution. Then Viva may be taken online. As we all know that there are many project and dissertation evaluations are there. So the Viva may be taken online by the particular colleges if they have got that infrastructure and that facility. Then practicals may be carried out with a feasible number of students. As we know, right now it is not possible, but later on when the things will start normalizing, and at that time the practical examination may be conducted with a feasible number, smaller number of students. The batches may be made. Then proper shift timing decision, looking at the more time consumption in public convents and during entry in the course. As we all know that the public convents, it is a very tough job to get the public convents, and each and every student, he or she don't have their own vehicles or the private vehicles. So in that case, how those students will be coming to the college, coming to or going to their centers for appearing in exams. So accordingly, the proper shift timing has to be decided. Whether the university is going to conduct the examination as usual in 3 shifts, or in 2 shifts, or in 1 shift. That has to be very clear as to safeguard the students and the faculty staff. Now next is arrangements of the thermal scanning at the entry gate separately for the staff and the students. This is part of this, because if the staff members will be coming with the students only, that will be very difficult, because that the gathering will be very high, and there will be students in bulk. So the separate gates and separate thermal scanning process should be adopted. Proper sanitization in case of classrooms, parking spaces, laboratories, administrative blocks, washrooms, etc. has to be specifically washed. We all know that this is the most sensitive area of, we can say, the classrooms and the washrooms. So the colleges must take care of hygiene and safety, so that the infection may be stopped by coming. Then is there will be a problem regarding invigilation. We all know that without invigilators, the examinations cannot be conducted. Now, I have raised this question in invigilation duties because in colleges in Rajasthan, we all know that there are two kind of appointments. One is contract based, that is for 10 months, and is permanent appointments, that is for 12 months. So the number of invigilators are going to be decreased. Why? Because the contract-based appointments will be released. They have been already released in the month of March and April. So what should be done? And how come the invigilators will be managed? That is a big question. As mostly in such cases, what the colleges do, they call the outside, and those outsiders are either they are aged persons or they are retired persons. So in this pandemic, whether they'll prefer to come for invigilation duties is a big question which has to be uh, taken or which has to be given heed by the college authorities for the smooth conduction of the exam. Then only final year examinations may be conducted as an option in UG and PG. This has been already decided by the university. From 13th of July, we all know that date has been declared. The third year examination and the third year examination in UG and final year examination in PG will be commenced. So for rest means we can say this one rest assignment and Viva based promotional policy may be adopted. The students who are we can say who have not their examinations have not been commenced or first yearies or the second yearies, for them we can say the examinations instead of taking their examinations, the promotional policy by deciding some kind of we can say ground level strategy, the promotional policy may be adopted. Then first year and second year examinations may be conducted when the conditions are under control. That is what the university is saying, but that is going to delay the whole session. And for this, the solution may be the syllabus may be revised and that may be shortened as to complete it within the time given. Then next challenge in front of the colleges or higher education system is which kind of admission strategies to be adopted amidst the spread of COVID-19 as well. We all know that the colleges each year, the fee structure for first year is it has been fixed. Now, whether to increase the fee structure, it is feasible. So I don't think so that the colleges should increase their fees, whether for the first yearies, for the second yearies, or for the third yearies, because the unemployment rate has already been increased. And there are so many ifs and buts. The raised fee may curtail the students from pursuing their studies, in my opinion. Then the outwardness of academic session 2020-2021. This is there. The students they have got already this one. Whether this session will be conducted smoothly or whether all the things will be getting streamlined or not. This is a big question. And without getting answer of this question, nobody is going to pay the fine. Then the admission fee. Now, how come the colleges are going to get the admission? So that will be online only because we can say footfalls are not. I don't think that any college is going to afford the footfalls. So if it is online only, then how come they'll be maintaining it? Because most of the parents and the students they don't have the internet. In that case, how come the fee will be transferred into the account of the respective college in which the student is seek the admission? So for this one, some alternative has to be uh, optional strategy has to be made by the college. Then installment payment mode may be adopted. We all know that the college would pay their lump sum amount in the initial first time it take the admission. The whole fee is taken, the yearly annual fee is taken. So to relax or to we can say to relax the burden of the parents, the installment payment may be adopted by the institutions so that the students or the admissions may come out. And online admissions and college targets. Now the thing is that in this pandemic, all the admissions will be done mostly. I think 60% of the admissions will be online. So whether this online admissions will fulfill the targets or the targets of the colleges will be fulfilled by online process only without looking at the infrastructure, the labs, the facilities provided by the colleges. The students will seek the admission. This is a big question of which the answer has to be searched. And next is seating of the faculty should not be. Now next is how to safeguard the staff and the students from corona within limited resources. This is going to influence each and every college. As admissions, we can say that the admissions and the whole process, and then afterwards the staff. It is the resources for an institution, and so without safeguarding them, it is very tough for any institution to raise or to we can say to make progress. Now, limitation of the college funds. You all know that there are limitations of college funds. They don't have so much of amount to spend. We can say very careless. So, to fight to adopt the measures for fighting or combating with the corona, how come the limited resources or the funds of the colleges they are being utilized, or how come it will be managed within the limited resource. So what should be the new avenues from which the funds may be raised? This has to be searched by the government. Then in low admission rate, how to meet the corona expectation. Already this academic session is going to be slower. Less number of admissions are expected. So in that, already we can say the expenditure is going to get a hike. So how come in this one the colleges will manage to fight with the corona with various kind of safety measures which are required? Then there may be an option that mask, eye gears, and sanitizers should be made mandatory. It should be informed the students, or it should be put in the notice of the students that they should use their own things. Then, as the seating of the faculty should not be in front of each. The seating arrangement has to be proper with the proper social distancing, and the front sitting it should be avoided. Then no food and water sharing, we all know. The college canteen should not be allowed to open, and if it opened, then proper and strict hygiene standards be followed. And college functions and unnecessary meetings must be avoided. And this has to be taken care. It is only by being precautionary we can cure this disease. Otherwise, we don't have any option. So these are some of the safety measures which might be adopted to safeguard the students and the staff. The staff and the students may be called upon in the college in two or more groups on alternative days, that we can see odd and even formula. And that is being said that the person is cure. So this should be paid leave. Now the biggest question is how to retain the second and third years regulars. Because as we all know that this academic session is not systematic, it is not going to remain. Then how come will convince second year and third year students to pay the fee of the regular students? Because they'll be saying where many of the students they reside in rural areas, from remote areas, their parents won't be allowing them to come to the city to join the college. Then in that case, they'll prefer to become the private student. So how to retain those? So the students must be counseled and told about the difference between private and regular studies. Fee enhancement should not be carried out. Better placement opportunities may be placed in front of audiences, so that a bonding of, we can say, belongingness may be developed, and the students they find themselves to relax their parents in this corona, we can say corona card or the corona pandemic, and they may share their parents' burden by getting employed somewhere. Then next question arises is next challenge is how to run the regular classes with proper social distance as per the guidelines of. So the first we can the challenge is when any institution it doesn't have the competent infrastructure. That in that case, the students they may be divided into two or three groups on the basis of odd even we can say, and on the basis of we can say availability of facility of internet and smartphones. The students who have got smartphones and the internet facility, they should be promoted. They should be informed, or they should be pampered to take the online class. And the who don't have such kind of disability, they should be called upon in the classes in the colleges for their regular class. So this may be an option. Then now the internet, the status of internet access in Pakistan is 57% in total, and out of that, in urban area, it is 73%, right? And in computer access, it is 29%. The people in Rajasthan, 29% of them have their own laptop or computer, and in urban area, it is 43%. So it is quite attractive number, as we say, in case of internet access in urban Rajasthan. So online classes may be an option which may be adopted by the people. Now, international higher education is also a challenge. We all know that the students from abroad as well as from India, they go from India, they go to other countries, and from other countries they come to India. So this pandemic, we can say, and the closure of the boundaries of the nations, this is going to definitely going to, we can say, influence, or it is going to affect to their education, or their we can say their movement from one nation to another for higher education. So there will be definitely a decline in the demand for international higher education as per the expectation. Now, the suggestions in action, inclusive learning solutions and e-learning platforms, especially for the most vulnerable and marginalized, need to be developed. The people who are on, we can say, PPL, and who have lost their employment opportunities. In that case, we can say how those people, or the boards of those people, will be able to seek or to take the classes online, how they'll be able to provide smartphones to their boards. This is the biggest problem which has to be solved, and into that the institutions may play a prominent role. Then education dissemination strategy with it, whether for a student with costly smartphone or for a student from the like. So the education should be the dissemination of it, the delivery of it must be with the Wi-Fi, free Wi-Fi may be provided to the students who don't have internet access onto their own. They cannot purchase, they cannot afford the, we can say, the internet package. So in that case, the free Wi-Fi facility is an option which may be provided by the institute. Now, training of some alternative strategy at the university level as a permanent solutions of exams to save the academic session of in spite of waiting for the relief in pandemic for first and second year. As these students are in the most, we can say, confusive state because they don't know. The university has given the notification that they should be provisionally admitted in higher class. The last date has been also provided. But the thing is that until unless there is no surety of smooth running of we can say the future academic session, then what will these students do? And what they will do by paying the whole amount of fee, and if the academic session it is not being conducted, then what will happen? And if in case like promotionally they are admitted, and then in September or in October the examination of first series and secondaries they are conducted, and if someone has got supplementary in those exams, then what will be the result? For semesters, December is the last time. And in October, that student, after starting in second semester or after studying in fourth semester, he has been taught you have got supplementary, then it will be very disheartening for the students to continue their studies. So I think these are all the challenges on which the university as well as we can say the head office, they should pay heed, and they should make strategies on real ground, and then it may be circulated or it may be forwarded to the university or the responsible authorities, so that the students, they maybe save their years, their studies, or their we can say their the worth of money may be spent. Now, to encourage the donor participation in girls, we can say education, or for the students who are not able to pay their, that may be asked on the management then to work in the direction of employment driven higher education. This is the most required we can say aspect of the need of the art, which has to be offered by the institution. That college must watch out their academics, but also take care of it. The biggest passion. So we all together will definitely overcome this factor. The only need is to keep our spirits high, innovative, optimistic. Thank you so much. This is all.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for very valuable information for all institution in this pandemic situation. Thank you so much, ma'am. Now, I would like to invite all the participants to ask any question if you have in your mind. So please text your question in chat box, and you can also ask after unmute your microphone.
Thank you, Ranjita ma'am. Thank you, Mohapatra sir. I think nobody has any questions. No one is from higher education or what?
So we are waiting. So query, I think.
Surely, sir, I'll try to. But the thing is that the government is not going to seek any kind of concern from my side. I am nobody at this time to refer the government.
So in this case, ma'am, we can start our personal campaign on social media because we are a social worker and
Yeah, sure.
so we can start this campaign.
Yeah, sure, Mohapatra, sir. I'll be doing that. And Shilpi, ma'am. So I think that this is all for the session.
Yes, ma'am. There, I have no found any query or any type of question there. So, this is the time for close to session now.
Yeah,
And
sure.
request to all the participants, please log in tomorrow on the same time. And the PPT and the recording I will be share on the group. And
Sure.
please be prepare for the quiz. After 7 days, we will share all the PPTs, recordings, and the quiz on WhatsApp group. So thank you so much, and thanks to all both speakers. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Shilpi, ma'am. Thank you all.
Welcome.